In this video, I'm going to show you why Japanese people live longer, healthier, and more purposeful lives than almost anyone else on Earth. And it's not about working harder. It's about 8 tiny habits that most people completely ignore. By the end of this series, you'll know exactly how to use these habits yourself. But here's what most people get wrong. They try to copy the habits without understanding the philosophy behind them, and that's why they fail. This is part 1, and if you skip this foundation, nothing else in this series will make sense. Here's something that doesn't make sense. Japan has one of the longest life expectancies in the world. Over 90,000 people in Japan are over 100 years old. They have lower rates of heart disease, obesity, and depression than most Western countries. But here's the contradiction. Japanese people work some of the longest hours in the world. Their cities are crowded, their lives are structured and disciplined. By Western standards, they should be stressed, burned out, and miserable. So what's going on? The answer isn't what you think, and it's definitely not genetics. Most people think Japanese longevity comes from green tea, fresh fish, and good genes. And sure, diet matters, but that's not the secret. The real secret is hidden in plain sight. It's in the way Japanese culture thinks about change itself. Western culture says,
Go big or go home! No pain, no gain! Transform your life in 30 days.
Japanese culture says the exact opposite. And that difference, that's what this entire series is about. Because once you understand how Japanese philosophy approaches habits, everything else becomes easier. You stop forcing change, you stop burning out, you start making progress that actually lasts. Let me give you an example. Imagine you want to get healthier. Most people do this. Join a gym, buy all the supplements, commit to working out 5 days a week, meal prep everything. And what happens? 2 weeks later, they quit. Now imagine doing this instead. Do 1 push-up every morning. That's it. Sounds useless, right? Too small to matter? That's exactly what Japanese philosophy would recommend. And here's why it works when everything else fails. Western goal setting is broken. We've been taught to set massive goals, push through resistance, and use willpower to force change. But willpower is a terrible strategy because willpower runs out. Think about it. You wake up motivated. Life happens. By 8 p.m., you're exhausted. The habit dies. This cycle repeats forever. And most people think the problem is them. They think they're lazy, undisciplined, weak. But that's not true. The problem is the approach itself. Japanese culture discovered something centuries ago that Western psychology is only now starting to understand. It's called Kaizen. You've probably heard this word before. Most people translate it as continuous improvement, but that translation misses the entire point. And in part 2, I'm going to show you exactly what Kaizen really means and how to use it without the fluff. But for now, here's what you need to know. Kaizen isn't about improving. It's about removing the psychological resistance that stops you from improving in the first place. Let me explain. Your brain is wired for survival, not success. Whenever you try to make a big change, your brain sees it as a threat. This is unfamiliar. This takes energy. This might fail. So your brain resists. It creates friction, doubt, excuses. This is why most big goals fail. Not because you're weak, but because you're fighting your own biology. Japanese habits work because they bypass this resistance entirely. When a habit is small enough, your brain doesn't see it as a threat. There's no friction, no excuses, no failure. 1 push-up, your brain says, fine, that's nothing. But here's where it gets interesting. That 1 push-up, it doesn't stay 1 push-up, because here's what actually happens. Day 1, you do 1 push-up. You feel accomplished, not exhausted, not defeated, just good. Day 7, 1 push-up becomes 2, not because you forced it, but because it felt natural. Day 30, you're doing 10 without thinking about it. Day 90, you're working out regularly, and you didn't suffer to get there. This is the opposite of Western transformation. There's no dramatic before and after, no suffering, no burnout, just slow, invisible, inevitable progress. And this applies to everything, not just fitness. Learning a language, building a business, improving relationships, mental health. The pattern is always the same. Start impossibly small, let momentum build naturally. Now, forget everything I just said for a second, because there's a trap here that most people fall into. They hear start small and they think, okay, I'll just do tiny habits and wait for magic to happen. That's not how this works. Japanese philosophy isn't about being passive. It's not about taking it easy. It's about being strategic. Small habits work because they create a foundation, but there's a specific structure you need to follow. And if you skip that structure, you'll just be doing random tiny things that lead nowhere. That structure? That's what the next 9 parts of this series are about. Here's what we're going to cover in this series. Habit 1, Kaizen, the 1% rule. That's part 2. Habit 2, strategic emptiness, part 3. Habit 3, Wabi-Sabi, embracing imperfection, part 4. Habit 4, Ikigai, your reason for being, part 5. Shinrin-Yoku, nature as medicine, part 6. Hara Hachi, the 80% rule, part 7. Omotenashi, selfless service, part 8. Gaman, enduring with dignity, part 9. Each one builds on the last. Each one is tiny. Each one creates massive results when combined. And in part 10, I'm going to show you exactly how to integrate all 8 into a daily system that actually works. But here's what you need to understand right now. These habits only work if you understand the philosophy behind them. Most people try to copy Japanese habits like they're copying a recipe. Okay, I'll drink green tea, I'll take my shoes off inside, I'll bow when I meet people. And then nothing changes. Because they're copying the behavior without understanding the psychology. That's like trying to speak Japanese by memorizing random words. You might know the words, but you can't hold a conversation. The philosophy is the grammar. The habits are the vocabulary. You need both. And that's what this video is really about. Not the habits themselves, but the mental framework that makes the habits possible. At the core of Japanese thinking is one idea: nothing lasts forever. In Japanese, this concept is called mujo. Everything changes, everything ends. You can't stop it. Western culture fights this. We want permanent results, perfect outcomes, and complete control. Japanese culture accepts it, and that acceptance changes everything. Because once you accept that nothing is permanent, you stop obsessing over perfection. You stop waiting for the right time. You stop giving up when things aren't perfect. You just start, improve, adapt, repeat. This is why Japanese habits feel effortless. They're designed to work with impermanence, not against it. Think about how freeing this is. You don't need to fix everything at once, be perfect, have it all figured out, transform overnight. You just need to take one tiny step, then another, then another. Most self-improvement content makes you feel inadequate. You're not doing enough. You need to try harder. You're falling behind. Japanese philosophy says the opposite. You're already enough. Small is enough. Progress is enough. This isn't toxic positivity, it's strategic realism. Because the moment you stop fighting yourself, you start moving forward. So, here's the question. What's one area of your life where you've been trying too hard, where you've been forcing change instead of allowing it? Maybe it's your health, your career, your relationships, your mental state. Whatever it is, I want you to think about it for a second. Because in the next parts of this series, I'm going to show you exactly how to apply these 8 Japanese habits to that area. Not theoretically, practically. With exact steps, exact techniques, exact scripts. Here's the final thing you need to understand in part 1. Japanese habits are about playing the long game. In the West, we're obsessed with speed. Lose 10 pounds in 2 weeks, learn a language in 3 months, get rich in a year. Japanese culture asks a different question. Where do you want to be in 10 years, 20 years, 50 years? And then works backwards from there. This completely changes how you make decisions. You stop chasing shortcuts. You stop quitting when results are slow. You stop comparing yourself to people on day 1 of their journey. You just focus on today, this week, this month, and trust that the compound effect will handle the rest. So here's what we covered in part 1. Japanese longevity isn't about genetics or diet. It's about a completely different philosophy of change. Western culture says go big, force results, use willpower. Japanese culture says start small, remove resistance, trust the process. The 8 habits we're covering in this series aren't random. They're all built on this same foundation: impermanence, small steps, long-term thinking, strategic simplicity. And when you combine them, they create massive results that feel effortless. But here's what most people miss. The first habit, Kaizen, isn't what you think it is. Most people translate it as continuous improvement, but that's wrong. The real meaning of Kaizen is what makes Japanese companies dominate entire industries. It's what allowed Toyota to become the most reliable car company in the world. And it's what's going to make part 2 the most practical video in this entire series. Because I'm not going to give you theory, I'm going to give you the exact 1% rule that you can start using today.